Hello and welcome to another episode of the Startup Operator Roundup. I'm Roshan Karyappa.
And I'm Gunjan Saha, and together we break down the biggest highlights of India's growing startup ecosystem. If this is the first time you're tuning into the channel, then please consider subscribing for We Talk Everything Startup. And if you're a regular listener, then please consider sharing this episode with your startup friends. Starting off this episode with significant achievements in the space sector, Agnikul Cosmos launched its first rocket called Agniban. And what makes this special is this is the world's first 3D printed rocket engine.
Wow, is that a bird? Is that a plane?
No, it's Agnikul's Agniban. In the digital realm, the government of India has...
Terrible opening, but yeah, let's go.
Continuing, in the digital realm, the government of India has proposed a digital competition bill to prevent market dominance of tech giants. However, this bill has received a lot of opposition from, you guessed it, tech giants like Google, Amazon and Apple.
Surprise.
Moving to the FinTech industry, Paytm is planning significant layoffs amidst growing losses, and this move could potentially save the company over 500 crore rupees. Lastly, in the payment processing industry, Stripe has temporarily gone invite only in India. The company plans to reopen its services in the country by the second half of 2025. The reasons they're citing for it is regulatory changes in the country. So we'll try to understand what's going on over there. So a lot of interesting topics for us to discuss in this episode. Hope you stay with us right till the end.
If you stay till the end, you'll see a very special dance performance by Gunjan Saha.
I think this is the right point to ask, Kari, how was your week?
Week has been interesting, right? I'm sure that you can't stop gloating,
Oh yeah.
after the massive KKR win and everything.
Such a one-sided match.
God's plan. Yeah.
Gambhir became less Gambhir after that match.
Okay, all right. Yeah, meanwhile, some exciting news on the chess front. Prags beat Magnus Carlsen, right? Yeah. Chess is getting sexier for sure. A lot of adoption in India. Heck, we invented the game, but there's been a phenomenal pipeline of players, right? We have Gukesh, Pragnananda, Vidit Gujarati. All of these are, again, international masters, grandmasters, what have you, right? And there's this coach in Chennai, Mr. Ramesh Babu. He's been producing like amazing folks. I had the opportunity to host him on Bharat Varta, sometime back. So we'll link to that episode. Go check out that episode.
Let's move on to the news. Starting off, after 4 failed attempts, Agnikul Cosmos successfully performed the launch of its first rocket called Agniban using 3D printed rocket engines. Agnikul is the only Indian startup to have its own private launchpad in Sriharikota, and it is only the second time in India that a private sector company has launched a rocket into space. The first one was Skyroot. The Agniban rocket's first flight faced significant challenges. It was called off 4 times in the last 2 months due to technical issues. However, despite these setbacks, the mission marked a significant milestone. ISRO even took to Twitter and said a major milestone as the first ever controlled flight of a semi-cryogenic liquid engine realized through additive manufacturing. So this is not only a huge step for the space industry in India, but also for the manufacturing industry.
Say it. I thought you were going to say like one step for Agnikul, like a giant leap for space industry or some nonsense, but it is true. This is a phenomenal achievement. The fact that they've 3D printed the engine and other parts is like a very good thing, right? It's amazing, which means that this is extremely scalable, right? And look, we've spoken about the space sector plenty of times in the past. I've said that India is kind of the dark horse here, given the geopolitics, given our location as well, right? Latitude, longitude, etc. There are a lot of favorable conditions. There's this fantastic podcast series on Spotify called Mission ISRO, which is narrated by Harsha Bogle. Do check it out. It gives you a little bit of a preview into what happened, how the space sector came to be in India. But fantastic achievement. We had Prime Minister Modi congratulating them, plenty of other ministers as well, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, who's the Minister of IT, and so on. Great achievement, Agnikul folks, and we'd love to host you on the podcast. So if you guys, any of our listeners, if you guys are connected, please make sure that they check out the channel, and yeah, Get us on the podcast.
Can we
Get
be
them
any-
on the podcast.
Well, in addition to this being the world's first flight with 3D printed rocket engine, this flight is also India's first using a semi-cryogenic engine. And I think what tops all of this is that it was entirely designed in India and assembled in IIT
What's
Madras.
a semi-cryogenic engine?
It's almost cryogenic.
All right.
No, but it's pretty cool, right? This thing was entirely designed and assembled in IIT Madras.
Yeah.
You have been a fan of
Make
that
in India,
college.
baby.
Okay, moving on to some big tech news. To curb market dominance of large tech companies, the Indian government has proposed the Digital Competition Bill. And no surprises here, a US lobby group representing these companies like Google, Amazon, and Apple is asking India to reconsider the new competition law, which they are calling it very similar to the one passed in EU. They are worried that rules about using data and giving certain partners special treatment might make things more expensive for users. India's digital competition bill is on the lines of EU's Digital Markets Act of 2022. It will apply to big firms, including those with a global turnover of $30 billion and whose digital services have at least 10 million users in India. Now, of course, this brings all the large tech companies under the purview.
Yeah.
This bill proposes to prohibit companies from exploiting non-public data of users and promoting their own services over rivals. So, of course, Google and Amazon are coming under fire.
Yeah. So it defines something called SSDEs, significant digital enterprises, and pretty much all of these folks, right, above a certain revenue, like Google, Facebook, or Meta, I should say, and Amazon, fall under this. And look, the way some of these platforms work, right? Obviously, I mean, they've become so pervasive, right? They're omnipresent, and there's significant amount of commerce or even conversation that happens on these platforms, right? So it's almost tending to become a utility of sorts, right? We've seen how social media shapes, plenty of conversations on politics, policy, and culture, and so on and so forth, right? But the way these platforms operate, I mean, obviously it's fairly opaque, right? If you look at Google Play, for example, you don't know what really happens, why
When your
certain
app is
apps are
gonna be
promoted, etc.
taken down also.
Yeah, exactly, right. And there's no redressal for all of that. So it's about time, I think. And obviously, these guys will crib about, a cost of doing business and so on and so forth. But look, I mean, this kind of anti-trust and anti-competition stuff happens elsewhere in the West as well, right? We were talking about the Google HubSpot acquisition and how it could potentially be struck down, right? I mean, they're fine with these kind of regulation. They're fine with acquiescing to some of these things in the West, but they seem to have a problem here, right? Which is, I mean, we have to put our foot firmly down and negotiate for sure, right? So, yeah.
Also, a lot of startups have, come out and spoken in favor of this bill. I think around 40 startups.
Because it'll give them an equal footing, right? So it'll give them an equal footing. I don't know if, we will build another social media platform, right? I mean, like a uniquely Indian one. It's been tried before, right? Coup was the latest debacle, right? There is, of course, all the share chat and whatnot. But, the best we can do is make sure that, whatever these X or Meta or whoever else operates in India, right, at least is transparent about their workings, right, because they're definitely very influential. So the bill proposes redressal, penalties, and so on, right? So yeah, aside from the fact that they can't promote their own products and services on their platform, which gives them an unfair advantage, I think the key thing also is that it says you can't prevent users from using a third-party application, which is also very, very important, right? The fact that people have that optionality to pick between whatever platforms they want to use. So yeah, this is about time. It's still a bill, not an act. So there's of course plenty of things that's going to happen between now and then. But let's see.
Also, Competition Council of India, right? I think they fined Google around $161 million because Google prevents the download of alternate app stores or to even remove the default apps from the mobile phones, right? So I think this bill will kind of make things.
They do
easier on
random
that front.
things, right? I mean, they can, at the very least, they can give a security warning, right? I mean, you're downloading an app. I mean, it says that this is unsecure or something,
verified
right? 9
publisher.
out of 10 people will be like, okay, maybe this is suspicious, right? I don't have to download this or something, right? So yeah.
Well, I don't know how many of you are still holding on to Paytm stocks, but I have single digit shares, hoping that someday it will go up. And one of the way that Paytm is planning to, stabilize its share price is by firing more than 6,000 employees. This will be happening in the next few months.
Allegedly, right?
Allegedly, yeah,
Yeah.
nothing is confirmed. Their Financial Express quoted that Paytm is planning to let go of nearly 6,000 employees. The company has been dealing with significant losses and is aiming to stabilize by cutting costs. This action could probably save the company around 500 crore rupees. But isn't the first time that Paytm is resorting to layoffs to save money. Earlier, they let go of around 1,000 employees in December last year. Paytm also faced a major setback in February 2024 when RBI penalized its banking wing, Paytm Payments Bank, for violating norms and non-compliance to regulatory policies. In its recently announced quarterly results, they ended the quarter with a concerning loss of almost 550 crores. Last year also, actually, no. Paytm also recently announced its quarterly results. They concluded the quarter ending with a concerning loss of 550 crore rupees. So I don't know whether this layoffs is gonna really help their case.
I guess it's like signaling to the market, right? I feel bad for Paytm because at this point of time, I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, what's happened with the payments bank and so on, right? And clearly, the e-commerce side has not clicked, has not really worked as much. They were really relying on the whole, payment infrastructure being the tip of the spear to do a bunch of stuff on the merchant side of things, right? Whether that is lending and so on. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough thing. So this is perhaps signaling to the market, saying that we'll exercise a little more fiscal discipline, be more prudent about our spends and so on, and hoping that investors are a little more patient in the interim period.
But let's talk about this layoffs, right? I mean, we have been seeing layoffs go on globally for the past few years. In fact, in India last year, around 20,000 people with tech jobs were laid off. And this was what media is calling the silent layoffs in calendar year 2023.
This happens after every bull market run, right? I mean, there are excesses in the bull market, and the froth is cleaned up, when the market corrects, right? So, a bunch of these jobs shouldn't have been there in the first place, right? And what you're seeing is like that realization of that, right? And further, I mean, because of all this AI automation and stuff, I mean, people are going to focus a lot more on productivity, right? So you're not just competing with your fellow man, you're competing with machines now, right? So although it hasn't come to that specifically, right? I guess given the markets, people are just being a little more prudent about who they hire, what they do, etc. Yeah.
Talking about fintechs, Stripe has also temporarily gone invite only in India. They're citing the country's evolving regulatory landscape as the reason for it. Stripe says that the regulatory landscape means that it cannot currently promise a quick launch and easy onboarding for Indian firms, but they did not name any specific regulations. What this means is that new businesses in India will no longer be able to sign up for Stripe account through the company's website. Instead, what they need to do is reach out to the company and request for an invitation. Stripe also says that it plans to reopen its services to the broader audience by the second half of 2025 after completing necessary infrastructure upgrades. Now, I'm not sure whether this has anything to do with the whole payment aggregator story that we have been seeing evolve, or is this just a move by Stripe to be more cautious in the market?
I'm not sure what specific regulation they're talking about, but no loss, use Razorpay.
Quick and simple, is it?
Yeah. Simple as that. I mean, our payment infrastructure and our payment providers are like really awesome. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's a significant loss as such.
Okay. Razorpay, if you're listening to this, you know which podcast is
Man,
sponsored.
everyone should pay us, no? Blinkit, Byju's, Razorpay.
Before moving to the talk of the town section, here is a quick roundup of the notable fundraisers of the week. Construction materials maker Inframarket raised around $50 million from Mars Unicorn Fund. Performance wear brand Technosport raised 175 crore rupees or around $21 million from A91 Partners. Zip Electric has raised $15 million from Ineos, 9 Unicorns, Iron Fund, Venture Catalysts and others. EV startup Turno raised $6 million from British International Investment, Kona Capital, Stellaris Venture Partners and B Capital. VegaPay, which is another fintech startup, they raised $5.5 million led by Elevation Capital, and Flam raised $4.5 million from TurboStart, Twin Ventures, and others. A lot of small check sizes. I don't think there's
Yeah, but infra market 50 million is significant for sure, right? Look, I don't know if you guys have been following, right? I mean, my Instagram reels are full of like 5 stocks that will go up after the June 4th result, and and so on and so forth. But I can tell you, like, construction for sure, right? I mean, there's just so much activity happening in India that, yeah, people are betting big on construction, right? So
Are you seeing like how Navi Mumbai airport is coming up?
no, I haven't.
You should check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be there in a couple of weeks. So
But the airport won't be complete by then.
check out the construction, man. So this, as usual, is not financial advice. Please don't take us seriously, at least with this. Yeah.
Thanks for adding that comment. Okay, on Twitter, there is this very interesting video doing the rounds. We will let you watch it for yourself.
Let's do it. You can redesign your work, Canva got that glow up. We redesign everything from the flow up. Customize your workspace and make it your own. Ooh, now you making magic when you up in the zone.
So this video is from the annual event of Canva. I'm sure all of us have used Canva at some point or the other, whether in college, startups, or wherever. And when I first saw this video, firstly, it reminded me of Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And that is, it's the epitome example of how Hulu operates.
Silicon Valley, the series, which is just fabulous. I mean, every day, every week, I kind of realize how genius that show was, right? Something happens that kind of reminds me of stuff. But yeah, man, SaaS companies, please don't do music videos. Please, 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 please. It's not cool. It absolutely is not, right? I mean, it's mega cringe.
But the thing is, it's so cringe that people are talking about it.
Yeah. But I guess, I mean, if you're doing like billions of dollars in revenue, then yeah, sure, why not?
No, but still, don't do it.
You can do stuff.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Well, in another video, there's Larry Ellison, who is the co-founder of Oracle. He talks that
Elon doesn't know what he's doing. He's going to have to go out for money. I'm really smart. I work for the Wall Street Journal. And I said, who are you? This guy's landing rockets. He's landing rockets on robot drone rafts in the ocean. And you're saying he doesn't know what he's doing.
right here is talking to journalists in an event. What do you make of that comment?
Dude, Larry Ellison is the original bad boy of tech. I'm serious. You guys might not know, right? I mean, the guy is phenomenal. So I remember there was a story of him going with bags of cash to his neighbors, like asking them to sell their house and vacate. Right? He just bought up the entire coast, right? This one time he wanted to buy an F-16 and the US would not sell it, right? I mean, Lockheed would not sell it. So he went to the Russians instead. So the guy is legit badass. I mean, he is like absolute badass, and he is absolutely right about journalists, right? I mean, yeah, people who don't really do much. I mean, aside from comment on things, right? Talking about like Elon should do X or Y things. Man, I mean, the guy is perhaps the most impactful human being, alive right now, right? And you're going and quibbling with him about some inane thing, right? About why, some Twitter policy or whatever nonsense, right? So, yeah. So absolutely on point as always, Mr. Larry Ellison. Yeah, good stuff.
Awesome. So before we wrap it up, last week we received some interesting comments on some of the topics we discussed, especially on the Bhavish versus Microsoft bit. We have Pranjal, who commented on YouTube saying that Bhavish's message would have been better worded. Illness seemed a little too troubling given the history of Western medical science classifying homosexuality as an illness for a long time. It is more like a cultish behavior than an illness. So that's an interesting comment. We also received a comment from Ishika. She requesting us to do a deep dive into some of the specific sectors in the startup. That's a great idea and something we have been exploring ourselves. So stay tuned to our channel for we'll be putting out a episode like that in a few weeks' time.
We're thinking of doing a deep dive on drones in India, right? And how the ecosystem has kind of evolved, its impact on the future, and so on. So let us know if that's something that is of interest to you guys. Also, any other sectors, anything that we should do a deep dive on. The idea is to do like a short 4 or 5 minute video that covers all the key aspects and perhaps give you plenty of content and material to go down various rabbit holes, right? So that's what we're thinking of.
Yeah. Well, awesome, guys. Thanks for staying with us right till the end.
Hey,
Please,
where's your special dance performance?
it'll come on my private channel.
After the only...
Subscribe to OnlyFans. Anyway, guys, that's all for this week's Roundup. We hope you enjoyed it. Do keep sharing your perspectives on the topics that we discussed in the comments below. Again, a reminder to like and share this video, rate us on your favorite podcast platform, follow us on social, and see you again next week with more
Subscribe
exciting
to
updates.
Gunjan's OnlyFans channel also.